Malik Carter gripped his son's small hand tightly as they exited the bookstore. His heart pounded. He could feel the eyes of strangers on them, or maybe it was just his own shame pressing down like a weight on his shoulders. "I'm so sorry," he said quickly to the elegant woman now frozen near the shelves, her designer purse having slipped from her shoulder in surprise. Malik's 6-year-old son, Isaiah, had just done the unthinkable. "Daddy, please!" Isaiah cried, his soft brown cheeks wet with tears. "I just want a mommy for one day." The silence between the three of them was louder than the city noise outside. The woman, tall, poised, maybe mid-30s, looked stunned. She was still holding a hardcover book titled Pediatric Cardiac Advances. Her eyes flicked from Isaiah to Malik, then down to the floor where her purse lay like an anchor to reality. Malik swallowed hard. "He didn't mean to. He doesn't. We'll go." He tugged Isaiah toward the exit, gently but firmly, wanting nothing more than to vanish. But before they could take another step, the woman reached out and placed a hand on Malik's arm. "Wait," she said, voice softer than he expected. "I'll do it." Malik froze. Isaiah looked up, wide-eyed. "You will?" She knelt to Isaiah's level and smiled gently. "I don't know your name yet, but I think I'd like to spend the day with you if it's okay with your dad." Malik stared. "Ma'am, I don't know what to say." "Then let's not say anything yet," she replied. "Let's just have ice cream." Malik Carter never thought his life would look like this. At 36, he worked as a mechanical technician for a small transportation firm. The pay was enough to survive. Barely, but just surviving took everything. On weekends, he cleaned offices in downtown Atlanta to cover medical bills. 3 years earlier, Isaiah had been diagnosed with a rare congenital heart defect. His mother, Nina, had stayed for a little while long enough to smile through one surgery, cry through another, and then disappear one spring morning without a note or explanation. She had said, "I can't do this," and left their lives like she was never part of them. Since then, Malik had done it all, every hospital stay, every night spent in a plastic chair beside a hospital bed, every insurance call, every sacrifice. Their one-bedroom apartment in East Point was cramped but clean. Malik gave Isaiah the bedroom and slept on a pull-out couch that made his back scream every morning. The carpet was worn, and the heat didn't always work, but it was home, and Isaiah was alive. That was all that mattered. 6 months ago, Isaiah had a second major heart surgery. It had gone well, miraculously so, but the debt that followed crushed them slowly. Even with government assistance and a modest insurance plan, Malik owed over 40, zero to the hospital. He picked up night shifts, rarely slept more than 4 hours, and tried to shield Isaiah from his exhaustion. But kids notice. Especially smart, sensitive ones like Isaiah. He was a curious boy, always asking questions about how things worked, why hearts beat, what clouds were made of. He read more science books than most adults and could recite facts about human anatomy with surgeon-like precision. But under that brilliance was a quiet ache. Malik often found Isaiah drawing pictures of families. Always 3 people, a tall figure labeled Dad, a smaller figure labeled me, and a third one always a woman with long hair, often faceless, labeled Mom. "Why don't I have a mom, like other kids?" Isaiah would ask, looking up from the kitchen table. Malik had memorized his answer. Some families have a mom and dad. Some have 2 dads or 2 moms. And some have just a really awesome dad who loves you more than anything. Isaiah usually smiled at that. But his drawings never stopped. Malik hadn't dated since Nina left. He couldn't imagine bringing another woman into Isaiah's life, someone who might leave again, who might break him in ways Malik couldn't fix. So he stayed alone. Until that moment in the bookstore. Her name was Ava Bennett. She didn't look like someone who belonged in a downtown Atlanta bookstore on a rainy Tuesday, not in those heels, or with that watch that cost more than Malik's car. She was 33, calm and composed, and beneath that designer coat was the mind of a genius. Unbeknownst to Malik, Ava was the CEO of Nova Biotech, a fast-growing medical technology company developing a new line of cardiac monitoring devices for children. She had just come from a hospital meeting and stopped at the bookstore to research something personally. What she hadn't expected was a small boy lifting his shirt in front of her and proudly declaring, "I had that surgery." And what she hadn't expected even more was how deeply those words would touch her. Ava could not have children. A car accident 7 years ago had left her with internal injuries that made it medically impossible. She'd tried to heal therapy, yoga, travel, but nothing had filled the quiet emptiness in her soul. Until Isaiah looked at her and said, "Will you be my mommy for one day?" She said yes before logic could talk her out of it. The three of them ended up at a tiny neighborhood ice cream shop. Ava offered to pay. Malik declined. "I got this," he said, pulling out a worn debit card. He didn't have much, but pride that he had in abundance. Isaiah got 2 scoops of mint chocolate chip. Ava got vanilla bean. Malik didn't order anything. They sat at a corner table. Isaiah talked the whole time about his heart, his favorite book, The Way Things Work, and his dreams of becoming a scientist who fixes hearts with light beams. Ava listened. Malik watched her closely. She wasn't pretending. She wasn't patronizing. She was just present. Afterward, she walked them to the train station. Before they boarded, she handed Malik her business card. "I had a good time," she said. "If Isaiah wants to do this again sometime, ice cream, science, museum, whatever, let me know." Malik took the card reluctantly. He read the name, Ava Bennett, CEO, Nova Biotech. His eyes widened. "You're that Ava Bennett? I'm just someone who thinks your kid is remarkable," she said, smiling softly. Then she turned and walked away, heels clicking against the wet pavement. Isaiah looked up at his dad. "Do you think she meant it?" Malik stared at the card for a long time before answering. "I think she did." It had been 6 days since the moment at the bookstore. 6 days since Ava Bennett knelt down and told Isaiah she would be his mommy for one day. And 6 days since Malik had tried and failed to stop thinking about her. Not just because of who she was, though discovering that she was the CEO of a billion-dollar biotech firm had made his head spin for a while, but because of how she had looked at his son, not with pity, not with confusion, but with attention, with presence. And now, Malik stood in the corner of the kitchen, watching Isaiah pour cereal into a bowl far too small for the task. "Easy, easy," Malik warned. "You trying to flood the apartment with frosted flakes?" Isaiah giggled, spilling half of it anyway. He sat down and began crunching happily. "So," he said between mouthfuls, "do you think Miss Ava likes museums?" Malik raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "I want to take her to the science one. The one with the heart exhibit." Malik leaned against the counter, arms folded. "Buddy, she's probably busy. People like her, they've got meetings and staff and private elevators and, I don't know, interns who bring them weird flavored lattes." Isaiah squinted. "What's a latte?" "Something adults pretend to like so they can feel important." Isaiah shrugged. "She liked me. Maybe she wants to hang out again." Malik didn't answer right away, not because he didn't believe it, but because some part of him wanted it to be true, and that scared him more than he'd admit. He reached into his wallet and pulled out the card Ava had given him. White, matte finish, minimalist, her name embossed in silver, no fancy title, no PR slogan, just Ava Bennett, CEO, Nova Biotech. Direct line. He'd looked at it a dozen times since that night. And now, Isaiah's hopeful eyes were making it harder to ignore. "Finish your cereal," Malik muttered, and disappeared into the hallway. He dialed the number an hour later, standing outside by the stairwell where the reception was slightly better and the quiet didn't echo so much. It rang twice. "Hello?" Her voice was exactly as he remembered it. Calm, confident, low. "Hi, this is Malik Carter. From the bookstore, with the, small child," and the awkward emotional outburst. She laughed, gently. "I remember." "Good. I was worried you had a long list of random dads and sad children." "No," she said. "Just you." Malik hesitated. Isaiah, he's been talking about you all week, about the museum." "I'd love that," she said quickly, before he could second-guess himself. "Saturday?" He blinked. "You're serious?" "I said I'd be there for a day. I didn't say which day." Malik smiled, despite himself. "You're full of surprises." "You have no idea." They met on the front steps of the Atlanta Science Center at 10:03 a.m. Ava wore jeans, a dark green sweater, and sneakers a far cry from the heels and pencil skirt she wore the last time. Her hair was pulled back in a low bun, no makeup, no entourage. Isaiah ran up to her like she was already family. "I've been waiting all week," he said, hugging her waist. She knelt again, arms open. "Me too." Malik hung back, watching them. "Hey," she said to him with a smile. "Hey, you okay with today being our day?" He shrugged. "You're the one volunteering for 5 hours of heart-shaped fun facts and dinosaur poop." She laughed. "Sounds perfect." And it was. Almost weirdly so. Inside, they explored everything: the human body wing, the physics lab, the planetarium. Isaiah bounced between them like a rubber band, holding both their hands, dragging them to different exhibits. "Did you know the heart beats more than 100 times a day?" he asked, pointing proudly at the monitor. "I didn't," Ava said. "You're teaching me new things." Malik watched her with a strange mix of awe and caution. She wasn't playing a part. She didn't check her phone once. She asked Isaiah questions, answered his jokes, helped him build a miniature model of the circulatory system out of red plastic tubes and bendy straws. But more than that, she made space for Malik, too. "So," she asked during a break at the cafe, "you always this quiet, or just around women who could buy half the city?" Malik nearly choked on his coffee. "Wow," he said, laughing. "You don't hold back, huh?" "I don't like wasting time." He nodded. "I respect that." She stirred her tea. "You're a good dad." He looked down at the table. "I try." "No," she said. "I mean it." A silence stretched between them, not awkward, just full. "Why'd you say yes?" he finally asked. Ava tilted her head. "To what?" "To all this, my son's question, the whole one-day mom thing." Her eyes softened. "Because no one ever said it to me," she said quietly. "And if someone had, maybe my life would have looked different, or maybe not. But I think we all need to be chosen, at least once." Malik didn't know what to say, but Isaiah did. As the planetarium lights dimmed for the final show of the day, he leaned across Ava's lap and whispered to Malik, "She's really good at this, huh?" Malik smiled. "Yeah, kiddo," he said. "She really is." At the end of the day, they stood outside the center again, the sun beginning to dip behind the skyline. "Thank you," Malik said, genuine. "Not just for him, for me too." Ava shook her head. "You don't owe me anything." He looked down, thinking, then handed her a folded paper. "What's this?" she asked. Isaiah drew it. "For you." She opened it. It was a simple crayon picture, 3 stick figures holding hands, the same ones from all his other drawings. Only this time, the woman figure had a name written above it. Ava. Her throat tightened. I guess he already decided, Malik said with a small shrug. You're not just mom for a day anymore. Ava smiled through wet eyes. Good, she whispered, because I wasn't done being one. The second one-day visit turned into a third, then a fourth, then something without a name. They didn't call them playdates. They weren't quite family outings. There were no rules, no promises, just presence. Ava started picking Isaiah up from school once a week, usually Tuesdays. She always brought a snack. Not the store-bought kind, but things she made herself. Carrot muffins, almond butter cookies, mini quiches with vegetables shaped like stars. Isaiah would always say, Dad doesn't make snacks like these. Malik would shrug. Dad can barely make toast without calling the fire department. But he wasn't upset. He was grateful and cautious. Grateful that his son was laughing more, sleeping better, drawing pictures with 3 figures and no question marks anymore. But cautious because the line between reality and hope was blurring, and Malik knew better than to trust blurred lines. He'd crossed that once before. One night, after putting Isaiah to bed, Malik stepped outside to take out the trash. He stood by the dumpster for a few minutes, letting the cold air settle into his lungs. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from Ava. You up? He smiled. Yeah, barely. Kid's asleep. Can I call you for a minute? He hesitated. Then, sure. The phone rang almost immediately. Hey, she said. Her voice was softer than usual. Everything okay? He asked. I think so, she replied. I just had a weird moment today. Malik leaned against the wall. Weird how? I was in a board meeting, she said, talking about the pediatric device rollout. There were 20 people in the room. Charts, data, strategies. And I was looking at this slide about heart surgery rates in children, and I just froze. Why? Because all I could see was Isaiah. Malik didn't answer. I kept thinking he's the reason I'm doing this, right? Not the grant money, not the investors, him. And I realized I haven't felt that kind of clarity in years. Malik exhaled slowly. I get that, he said. I've been chasing promotions, IPOs, innovation, she continued. But that kid, he makes me want to chase presence. There was a pause. Then Ava whispered, Is that selfish? No, Malik said. It's human. She was quiet for a moment. Do you ever feel like, if you start to care about something, you'll ruin it? He smiled faintly. Every day. She laughed once, then went quiet again. I just wanted to hear your voice, she finally said. I'm glad you called, he said, and he meant it. More than he realized. But the deeper something becomes, the more fragile it feels. The shift came a week later. They were at a neighborhood carnival, Malik, Ava, and Isaiah walking past food trucks and local art booths. Isaiah had just won a stuffed lion at the ring toss and was bouncing between them like a spark. Then a woman's voice cut through the crowd. Malik? He turned. Standing a few feet away was Nina, Isaiah's biological mother. Her hair was different, shorter. Her clothes more expensive. A small designer purse hung from her shoulder. She looked like someone from a different life because she was. Malik froze. Ava instinctively reached for Isaiah's hand. Nina blinked, unsure. I thought that was you. Malik's voice came slowly. Hey. Isaiah looked up. Daddy, who's that? Malik's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Nina crouched down, forcing a smile. Hi, Isaiah. You probably don't remember me. I'm... Malik stepped forward, voice firm now. We need to go. Nina stood. Wait, Malik, can we talk? Not here. Ava gently guided Isaiah away, far enough to give space, but close enough to listen if needed. Nina's voice dropped. I came back. I've been in therapy. I got help. I didn't know how to reach out. But I've been following Isaiah's progress online. Malik's fists clenched. You left him. You left us. No warning, no goodbye. He was 4. I was broken, she said. So was I. I stayed. Nina swallowed hard. I want to be in his life. Malik looked her dead in the eyes. You lost that right. And he walked away. That night, Malik sat in the apartment while Isaiah slept, and Ava stood in the kitchen, slowly washing her hands over and over, as if trying to scrub away the encounter. Is she going to come back? Ava finally asked. I don't know, Malik said. Would you let her? He looked at her. Would you? She met his eyes. I'm not the one who was left. He sighed, rubbed his forehead. This is exactly what I didn't want. Isaiah getting attached to someone and then having it ripped away again. Ava turned to him, quietly. Do you think I'd do that? I don't want to think that, but I have to, for him. She nodded, hurt flickering in her face like a shadow. You're scared. I have to be. No, she said. You choose to be. They stood in silence. Then Ava took her coat and walked toward the door. Before she opened it, she turned back. I never promised forever, Malik. But I showed up. I kept showing up. That has to mean something. And then she left. Malik didn't sleep that night. Neither did Isaiah. The morning after Ava left, Malik woke up before the alarm. His back ached from the pull-out couch, and the air in the apartment was colder than usual, but none of that mattered. He lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, remembering the sound of the door closing the night before. Ava's voice echoed in his mind. I never promised forever, Malik, but I showed up. He hated how true it was. In the kitchen, Isaiah sat at the table with his cereal untouched. He was drawing not spaceships or robots like usual, but another picture of 3 stick figures. This time, he drew himself farther away from the woman in the middle. He didn't ask where Ava was. He didn't have to. Malik sat across from him and watched his son color in silence. You miss her? He asked quietly. Isaiah shrugged. Malik reached over and gently turned the paper toward himself. The drawing was simple, but it felt like a wound. She might not come back, Malik said carefully. Isaiah didn't look up. Was it something I did? No, baby, Malik said quickly, his voice breaking. You did everything right. Then why do people leave? Malik didn't have an answer. He wanted to blame Nina. He wanted to blame life. But deep down, he knew Ava had been nothing like Nina. She had come closer to them than anyone in years, and he'd pushed her away out of fear. And now his son was paying the price. That afternoon, Malik stood outside Ava's office building downtown, staring up at the sleek glass structure like it might swallow him whole. He hadn't told her he was coming. The security guard at the front desk looked skeptical as he approached in his worn boots and faded jacket. I'm here to see Ava Bennett. The guard eyed him. Do you have an appointment? No. Sir, tell her it's Malik Carter. She'll know. The guard sighed, picked up the phone and dialed. 30 seconds passed, then a nod. Take the elevator to the 18th floor. Malik rode up in silence, gripping the railing. When the doors opened, Ava was already standing there in the hallway, arms crossed. She looked tired, but not angry. Just waiting. Hey, Malik said quietly. She nodded once. Hi. They stood in silence for a moment before he spoke again. I messed up. Ava leaned against the wall. You didn't trust me. I was scared. I know. I said things like you were going to leave, he said. But the truth is, you were the first person in years who didn't, and that terrified me. Ava looked away, blinking fast. I kept waiting for you to disappear like everyone else, Malik continued. I was wrong. She met his eyes again, and this time there was something softer in her gaze. I wasn't asking you to promise me anything, she said. I just wanted to be there, for him, for you maybe, not because I had to, because I wanted to. I know that now, he said, and if you're still willing, I'd like to let you. Her eyes glistened. You mean that? He nodded. We need you. I need you, and not just for a day. She took a slow step forward. You still owe me a science museum rematch, she said. He smiled. Bring your A-game. Weeks passed, and spring bloomed slowly over Atlanta. Ava became a fixture in their lives, not as a replacement for anyone, but as herself. She started tutoring Isaiah in math, helped him build a model heart with clay and wires. Sometimes she brought dinner, sometimes just her presence. Malik learned to let her in without trying to predict the ending. They didn't label it. Not yet. But they built something together. Not grand. Just consistent. Then, one evening, Nina called. Malik almost didn't answer, but Isaiah was asleep. Ava was washing dishes in the kitchen, and the weight of unfinished business hung heavy in the air. Hello? It's me, Nina said. I've been thinking. Malik waited. I know I hurt you, and I know I don't deserve a place in his life, but I'd like to meet him. Just once. Maybe write him a letter, if nothing else. Malik rubbed his eyes. I'll think about it, he said. But it's not about you anymore. It's about what's best for him. I understand. He hung up. Ava looked at him from the sink. He explained. She didn't tell him what to do. She just sat beside him, held his hand, and listened. That, he realized, was what love looked like. Not solutions, not control. Just someone who stays. On Isaiah's 7th birthday, Ava planned a small surprise party. Nothing fancy. Just a few balloons, cupcakes, and a small telescope she'd found after remembering how he once said he wanted to see the stars that keep people's hearts beating. Malik watched his son laugh so hard he spilled icing all over the floor. He watched Ava kneel down to help clean it, laughing too. And in that moment he knew something for sure. Whatever came next, they were already a family. Not by blood, but by choice. The most powerful kind. Later that night, after Isaiah was asleep, Ava stepped out onto the porch with Malik. The sky was clear, the stars faint but real. I've never done this before, Malik said. Let someone in like this. Ava looked up at the sky. I never thought I'd get to be part of something like this. He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Isaiah's latest drawing. 3 figures again. This time, the figures had full faces. He handed it to her. She smiled, tears welling in her eyes. Still think I'm only his mom for a day? She asked. Malik shook his head. No. He touched her hand. You're family now.